Hi guys, this is another lecture of human rights and values, and in this lecture we're going to talk about the Indian perspective of human rights. So before we start, just a brief introduction about myself. So I'm Sandhya Rao, working as an assistant professor at St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management. In the previous lectures, we have already covered certain topics, as in the concept of human rights, then the international perspective of human rights, also how human rights have evolved, and the articles which are mentioned in the UDHR, which was a very major breakthrough kind of a thing in the history of human rights evolution. So now we'll start with the Indian perspective of human rights. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so if I start with the Indian context, and I would like to say that India took a very pragmatic approach when it comes to human. So pragmatic means that when you deal with things sensibly and in a very realistic manner, in a very practical manner. So that is based on practical rather than theoretical consideration. So which means that when we actually we got independence in 1947, and UDHR came into being in 1948. So which means that we got independence a year prior to UDHR. But still, the concept of human rights in a very concrete form came into being in 1993. So why is it so? Why did we took so long to to actually formalize this concept of human rights? Because we wanted to go step by step. Okay, we wanted to take it in a very pragmatic way. We wanted to take it in a very practical manner, and we wanted to take things slowly, because obviously the economic background was such at the time of independence that we obviously couldn't continue with the formulation of human rights at that point of time. So we couldn't satisfy the aspirations of all the people, and that is why we actually formed the fundamental rights, which are given in the Constitution of India, and they are guaranteed by the Constitution of India. And Supreme Court is the central authority which has been entrusted with the power to ensure that if there is any violation, then the Supreme Court will have a final verdict on that case. So, starting with the human rights in Indian context, these are the movements which have been done so far. These are not the only movements that have taken place in Indian history. There are several other movements as well, but I have selected a very handful of them, and so that I will be able to explain them you in a very detailed manner. So these are certain human rights movement. So it's see, if I say that if you would say that, ma'am, Swadeshi movement has nothing to do with the human rights, or how is Narmada Andolan related to human rights, because human rights are relating to the life, to freedom of speech and all these things. So I would like to tell you that human rights is not a absolute concept. Okay, it can change. The definition is also not very concrete. And if I take the definition of the modern time in comparison to the previous era, or if I say that how human rights have evolved, so they have evolved from the law of nature. So it has nothing to do exactly with the human's life or human's dignity. Okay, it can be in relation to anything and everything. There are certain concepts. It includes social rights as well. It includes economic rights as well. It includes cultural rights as well. Although all cultural rights and social rights are not our human rights, but still they can in later or in the upcoming years they can also come in the purview of human rights. So this term is not very absolute, or the scope is not limited. The scope is very wide, and we can include almost everything and anything. So these are the movements that I've taken so far, in which humans have tried to express their opinion, their thought that we should work towards we should always fight for our rights. If we live in a society, and if there are certain things which belong to us, then we have the right to protect them. So starting with the Swadeshi movement, which took in which happened in 1905. So this was about that there are certain things. Uh, this was actually prior to our independence. So there were many products which were being shipped or which were coming from abroad. So we wanted to encourage the Indian industries, and that is why this movement came into being. We wanted to abandon, or we wanted to abolish the goods that were coming from abroad. So we wanted to promote our own khadi products, our own khadi clothes, as compared to the synthetic fiber which was coming from abroad. Also, there were several things which were made by machines, so we were trying to abandon that as well, because we wanted to encourage the cottage and handicraft industries which were there in India. So this was about that, because we wanted to realize that, if we are living in a country, it is our right to protect our industries. So this was about it. Then Namak Andolan, which started in 1930, it was about that, if we live in a country, then obviously all the things, all the resources belong to us. This was about that. So that is why Mahatma Gandhi took a Dandi march, and he started collecting the salt from the sea, because in that time, what happened was that the Britishers said that they have the sole right over the sea and all the water bodies of India. And Indians were gradually realized that if we are the citizens of this country, if we are living here, then it is our right, and we are also entitled to the salt which is being produced in our own country. So that is why we took to this Andolan. And also it was similar to the Satyagraha Andolan, that we wanted to do a peaceful demonstration. Okay, we associated with the people. We did not showcase any instance of violence, and we did it in a very peaceful manner. The next thing that started was Chipko movement in 1973. Again, this was about environment. Okay, we felt that, because people were this was the time when actually the industrialization started happening. So most of the foreign forest lands and, the agro-based land was being removed for the construction of industries and all those things. So we felt that, if we are going to continue with the destruction of nature, then there won't then a time would be there, and when most of the resources will be replenished. So in order to save the forest and the wildlife, most of the women of this village started hugging the trees, so that, if the people come to cut the trees, they won't be able to do that, because human life will be attached to that. So this was about Chipko movement. Then Narmada Andolan, which came in 1985, was about a river on which the dams were being constructed. So the people started protesting that, we don't want the dams to be constructed over here, because that will cause a lot of migration. People will have to migrate from that place, and most of the most of the industries or small industries which were being set up in that area will also have to be removed. So for that reason, the people of that area started revolting. They started protesting that we don't want the dam to be constructed. So again, these are all very basic in nature, that, people have started to realize that when they are living in a particular area, they have this right over their vicinity. Okay, so whatever things that belong in their vicinity, they have the right to protect them. So Narmada Bachao Andolan was relating to that. Then again, Jan Lokpal Bill came in 2011, which was about corruption, that we wanted to live in a country which is corruption free, because because it's our basic right that we live in a country which is fair, and nobody discriminates us, and nobody exploits us. We have the right against exploitation, which is which is one of our fundamental rights. So that is why Jan Lokpal came into being. Then again, Nirbhaya Andolan came in 2012, which was about women's safety, and it is the basic human right, that, all men and women are equal in rights. They are born equal. They are born with the if they are born with different abilities, then that should not be treated as a basis for discrimination. Okay, all are equal. We are born equal, and we should live equal. We should live in equality. So Nirbhaya Andolan was about women's safety and freedom to have our own dignity. So this was about that. So these are some of the human rights movement that have took place in India so far. There are many more, and you can study about them as well. But since this topic is a very small topic, so I took only these 6 movements which I felt are very much relevant in present times. So you can add on more movements as well if you want to do that. All right, so moving ahead, in Indian context, these are the 6 fundamental rights which have been given to us. And okay, So provisions of part 3 of the constitution, which includes article 12, 13, it goes till 35. These are all fundamental rights, okay? And we have subcategorized them into 6 categories. So these are the 6 main fundamental rights, under which there are certain other rights as well, which come under the purview of these rights. So right to equality means that, all are equal. We should be treated equally. Then there is right to freedom, which states we have the freedom to freedom of speech. We have a freedom to associate with people. We have a freedom to assembly. Then right against exploitation. See, it's again repetition of what we have done in the international context. Okay, more or less they are all similar in nature. Then there is right against exploitation, which means that nobody can exploit us, nobody can enslave us. If there is any kind of torture which is being inflicted on us, then we can definitely protest against that, and that will be treated as a violation of fundamental rights. Then we have right to freedom or religion, which means that we are free to follow whatever religion we want to follow. And this is again an extension of the term secular. Okay, India is a secular country and we are free to follow any religion. Again, India is a very diverse country. We have different cultures over here, and people follow different religions. So that is again a very good example of freedom of religion. Nobody stops you from following any religion. There are Hindus, Muslims, Sikh, and Christians all living peacefully in our country. So that is an example of freedom of religion. Then we have cultural and educational rights, which means we are free to showcase our culture. हमें कोई मना नहीं कर सकता है that you cannot show your culture, अपने culture को present मत करो, या कोई ऐसी activity मत करो जो आपके culture से related हो. Nobody stops you from doing that. You are free to do that. आपका जो भी culture है, you can portray that culture. If your culture says that you have to wear a certain kind of dress, or you have to wear a certain kind of headgear, then you are free to do that. We all know that the Sikh or the Sikhs wear a turban on their head. So it's their culture, and they have to carry a knife with them all the time. So it's their culture, and nobody stops you from doing that. But again, if you try to misuse that culture, if you try to use that knife, for killing other people, then in that case, the government will have to intervene, because that is a violation of the social security of other people. All right. So until and unless you are not harming the other people's sentiments and their life, you are free to follow your cultural activities. Also, you have the right to education, which means all the people uh, have this right to attain the basic level of education, and up to a certain level you can access free education. Then right to constitutional remedy is also there, which means that every person can seek judicial assistance if and ever they feel that their rights are being violated by the other people, or if they feel that government is trying to violate their rights, then even in that case also they can seek judicial assistance. And there are proper clauses and sub clauses relating to that, which are mentioned in the Constitution of India. So this is about fundamental rights, and these are very basic rights. These are very much in relevance. These were framed when the Constitution was formed in 1950, when the Constitution was implemented in 1950. All right, so this is it about the fundamental rights. We will continue with the detailed analysis of each and every right. We'll be doing right to life, right to equality, and all things in the subsequent lectures. So this was it about today's lecture. Yeah, all right. Thank you guys. Hope you have understood the topic well. I'll also give you a question. So you have to mention that what are the other movements which have happened or which took place in our country relating to human rights. And okay, let's not understand it only in the light of human rights. All the movements have tried to, you know, to convey the message in some kind of humanity only, that all the things are related to humans. It is our right. So whatever movements that you have seen in Indian context, you can refer them and you have to mention them. Okay, so this is your homework, that you will find out more about other human rights movement in India. So this is your homework. This is it for today's lecture. Thank you.